the spirit world, I have probably 90% of the time you don't get no pictures or see anything, as far as investigation or whatever. But sometimes even when you do, I am telling you, spirits where sometimes they don't even show up on the picture, even though they're there when you took the picture. Sometimes they do. You never know. It's a crapshoot. But I never see them every time and never hear them every time.
No.
It's I don't know, lucky.
I think it's just luck. I think if they want to be seen, they let themselves be seen. If they don't want to be seen, you can sit there and take all the pictures you want. You're not going to get anything. The same way, if you got your recorder going, if they don't want you to hear or be able to record it, you're not going to be able to record it. I just remember the time I went out with one of my sons down by where I live to the cemetery. It goes back to 1860s, 1870s. And we were walking through the cemetery with, all the pine trees and cedar trees and kind of spooky. And we were there towards dusk. And, I didn't hear anything. But, when we got home, I played the recorder back and I heard little kids. They sounded like they were playing. And I was, oh, man, this is the best recordings I've ever heard of, of anybody. And I figured I hit the mother lode on this one, right? So the next day I go back during the daytime and we're walking around and we're looking at some of the old graves. I went back to the area which, I got these recordings, and then through the trees I could barely see. It looked like a chain link fence. So I walked through the trees because there was no, cemetery graves at that part, and walked maybe about 100 feet. And what did I see? I saw a swing set. I saw the back of a house. And then I realized that there must have been kids playing in the backyard. And that was my recording. So you got to be careful when you go out. And, sometimes these are explainable, what you record.
Yeah, outside it's the worst and the hardest, really. Perfect example, Gettysburg. Now, I will say the spirits were everywhere there. They mad rushed me, had me beat up for a couple days. They're just everywhere there. But when you're outside with recording for EVPs, it's almost impossible outside, especially at Gettysburg, like Devil's Den there. It's almost 100 yards, probably from one end to the other where the rocks are. And you could sit there and record, and there'd be nobody around. Or they could be clear at the other end, 100 yards away, and they could be whispering. But the way that granite rock is set up, and they got like tunnels, and it echoes all the way down through. You can barely hear it, but you'll pick it up on a recorder, and like you're saying, you think you pick something up, and it's just the people clear at the other end.
Oh,
yeah.
Big letdown, I can tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I will say, we was on the middle of a road at 10 o'clock at night, and there was literally, it looked like soldiers, like fog shaped like, it was fog, like mist shaped like soldiers walking across the road. That was the most mind-boggling thing that we seen. And that really got our attention there.
Oh, yeah. Somebody just messaged me through Messenger, through Facebook, wanting to know what time Tom Witmore was going to be on. Well, he's going to be on about 7:03 tonight. That's just a few minutes away. And then we're going to be talking about, his latest endeavors, trying to prove, conspiracies, documents, and all that stuff on UFOs. So that should be really good. He'll be on from 7 to almost 9 o'clock. And then we have Marc Cushman, who wrote a book about, Star Trek, and then I Spy and a few other shows. His I Spy book was done with permission from Roddenberry. Gave him all the notes for the show. Everything from the budget down to, the directors to the actors, all this stuff. So we're going to talk a little bit about, Shatner. We're going to talk about the Doc. We're going to talk about Scotty. We're going to talk about, the network, why it got canceled when it should have never got canceled. We're going to be talking about that. And it's going to be a great 3 hours tonight after we get done jive talking here.
Did you just say jive talking?
Jive talking, if you know what I mean. Yeah, jive talking. We're just BSing here. Killing time.
You take me back to the 1976 there for a minute when I was about, 40.
Oh, gee, when you're young.
Yeah,
You're getting
young,
old.
but,
You're getting old, though.
oh yeah, well, you're right. I just turned like 75 there.
Well, you
just last
stop
week.
saying that, okay? I mean, you're not 75, okay? And you're putting me down by doing that. I'm going on 68. I'm panicking. But you know what? Listen to me. I don't talk like I'm 68. I talk like I'm 98, senile.
No, you don't. But here's the thing, Gary. It's all in your mind. Age is just, it's a number that people have to put a label on so they can label you and put you in a box.
No,
or
it
a
isn't.
category.
No, it isn't. I got to get up about 8 times to go pee at night. I never had to do that when I was in my 30s and 40s and 50s.
Well, that's not because you're old. That's because your bladder is getting a little older. Your prostate.
Yeah, I'm falling apart.
Your mind's not getting old. Your voices sound still kind of young. So
Kind of young. It sounds younger than you. That's what I hear from all the fans. They say that you sound like an old fart, and I sound sexy.
Well, you're bringing sexy back to radio. I just heard that.
I wonder where we heard that from too, huh?
I don't.
Now, how many bottles of vermouth did you have before you got on the air tonight?
I lose count once I get to a certain point of drinking too many. That 1 equals 3, and then I'm back at 1, so I don't know.
Well, you can drink vermouth as long as you don't drink muscatel.
I've never even heard of none of that stuff. I drink water. Are you kidding me?
You know, when I went through Tennessee, I bought a bottle of White Lightning, brought it back, and I tell you what, that stuff would burn your whole insides out. I mean, gee, almost as bad as I had a guy. It was in the Navy, and back at the time they had what they call torpedo juice, whatever that is. And I tell you, that was like 200% alcohol, whatever it was. I tell you, you drink a little bit of that stuff, and you don't even know who you were for a long time.
Yeah, I had some of that moonshine way back. They make it out here sometimes. I had some, I don't know, 35 years ago or so, and I had thought, well, I better get something to mix it with, because I know it's going to be pretty potent. So I had these popsicles. So I figured, I put a popsicle in it. I literally put the popsicle in it. It melted the popsicle instantly. Like, I'd never seen nothing eat a popsicle instantly. So I thought, well, that's not a very positive sign. So I took a big old drink of it, and it was like one of them cartoons. I was on fire, buddy. I was lit up. It was I was good with that. I didn't want no more.
Yeah, you came and talked after. I remember I stopped, with my wife at that time, not my current wife, and I stopped at this vegetable stand. And and I was buying some vegetables, and the guy goes, "Well, you're not from the area, are you?" And, yeah, I know. I'm from, Seattle. And he goes, "Seattle?" "Yeah, Seattle, Washington." "Oh, that's a long ways away. So you're not with the police or anything, or sheriff's department?" I go, "No." He goes, "Hey, you want to buy some moonshine?" And then he lifts up, the corn, and here was these bottles of, like in, these canning bottles or whatever you are, you put preserves and jams in it, there it was, the moonshine.
How was it? Pretty potent?
Yeah, you take a sip of it, you couldn't talk.
Yeah, I remember when we was like, I don't know, with 12 or 13 or 14, I don't know, we were pretty young, and out on the farm there, my grandfather used to make some homemade wine, and it was pretty potent. We didn't know what it was, we just thought it was some special grape juice or something. And boy, I drank a big glass that were laying, sitting there in the yard, and I remember I went to get up, and I couldn't get up. I got up, and it was like Curly and Moe. I went to the right, walking sideways for about 5 steps.
My grandmother, God bless her, she didn't think anything of it. She would take like, grapes and all kinds of stuff and make herself like a Kool-Aid stuff and then put it in the refrigerator, and put like a little piece of cloth on top of it where nothing would fall in. And one day I went over there and I was spending the day. I cut her grass and all that stuff, and I poured myself a glass of it. And boy, did I get drunk. And then I found out from my mom and dad, it goes, "Don't you know what your grandmother does? She lets it kind of ferment." And that's how she was getting her alcohol. That was her special medicine. And she was really upset you drank it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's...
And when I was in high school, or actually junior high school, in 9th grade, me and my friend decided we're going to make root beer. So we got a crock, we got all the stuff to make the root beer. And then we got, the bottles and the bottle, caps and the thing to, put the caps on, the bottler, whatever you call it. And so we made like a case of homemade root beer. And then my friend goes, why don't we make it sweeter? Why don't we put some raisins in each bottle? So we put some raisins in it. Now, we made the stuff and we let it sit overnight or so.
Oh, boy.
And then, it was really good. I mean, it not as good as Hires root beer, but it was good. The problem is I gave it a whole bunch of it away to, I brought it to school and I gave it to, some other, my friends. I gave one to my teacher. And that's when I realized it was getting everybody drunk.
It was fermenting as it was sitting there with that concoction you had brewing there, buddy.
No, it's because I think it was because we put the raisins in it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Did it. But man, did I get suspended from school on that because I remember the teacher was so drunk he couldn't. It was all my fault, and I admit it. But you know what? I got out of it, really. I mean, they suspended me and my friend. But, they didn't take it any farther because they realized after they quizzed us, what were you doing? I said, we just were making root beer, and we didn't have enough sugar. So we put some raisins in it to make it sweet. Well, don't you know if you put raisins, anything in it, it'll ferment? Well, what's ferment mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's when I found out you're making alcohol, dude.
Yeah, you didn't know no better. Times have really changed. I remember back when I was in, I think, 5th grade, we had this first year, he wasn't a first year teacher. He was city teaching. We was at a little school out in the country. And it's funny, he came out there, he was, I don't know, probably 20-year teacher. And we never heard him. Why would you go from big city school out to, pay less way out in the middle of nowhere? Well, he used to have this little flask, and then he would drink all day long, keeping his day. He'd pull up and just drink right in front of us. You didn't think much of it back in the 70s, but I look back now and be like, boy, times have changed. This guy's drinking all day long. By the middle of the afternoon, he'd have a little bit of an attitude about him, too, I noticed.
Yeah, did he have a red nose by any chance?
Oh, his whole face was
red.
I remember one day he said, I used to be a real pitcher, minor leagues and all this, and he says, come on out there, I'll show you. He went out there, he wound up to throw a pitch, and he fell over, and I just started laughing. It was like this. He was so drunk by this. Every day he would get drunk. He was a bad alcoholic, and he's still teaching. Come to find out, I guess that's why he got left that one school, but he didn't quit drinking, unfortunately.
Well, he should have. I mean, gee, and teaching classes, plastered. But you know what? There's people, though, I know. I had a friend was older than me. I was in my early 20s, and he was in his, late 40s, and he owned a little grocery store, and he would consume a couple bottles of vodka, 3-star vodka a day. But you know what? You look at him, and he had an outgoing personality, but he must have been drunk, and nobody ever realized it. Anyway, we're going to be back after the news. James is going to be doing the news, and then we're going to have Tom Witmore on. So it gets really good from here on. A big shout out to Karen Banks. I hope you're feeling better today, kid. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes with the news.
From the government is full disclosure. Because we know what we're seeing, and there are too many of us. We're not going to.
As I gaze upon the annals of time, one thing that comes through: we are not alone in this universe. It's a thought that rings true. Ancient cave dwellers drew spacecraft on the walls. It's a recurring theme. I've seen the same thing while walking late at night, and I know it's not hate.